I can't find the words to explain to you how good these pro gamers are.
He's actually stimming his units as he leaves the base. He's trying to get so many other players' space that there's not even time for the Baylings to finish.
Naniwa's got his army split up. He's got one attack on the right-hand side. Another chasing down the army. Storm's come down.
These are the best of the best in esports history. And Huck starting to blink forward as the Zealots are removed. The supply goes in Huck's favor.
So much energy. Where did that energy come from? Tanks desperately trying to target fire down Queens.
The Archon's moving forward. A lot is going down here, and only Colossus left over.
He's starting to get some feedbacks down. He's starting to advance forward. Another vortex.
There's the blink forward, trying to get underneath those Brood Lords. Oh, he sends the vortex.
Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, hello from the MLG studios here in New York City, and welcome to day number 4 of the winter season Showdowns. Epic matches every single day, all best of 5, all Heart of the Swarm, all matches that determine who go to the MLG Winter Championships in Dallas, Texas on March 15th. I'm axeltoss. He's axslav. How you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, man. Just beautiful day, beautiful match ahead of us.
Yes.
After that, a beautiful analysis of yesterday's match beyond that, but today should be amazing. Soulkey's been on a tear. I mean, all these Kespa guys are so good.
Yeah.
Yesterday was just a really fun series.
Yeah.
Today should be just as good.
Of course, week 1, we're focusing on the Kespa matches. I wouldn't have it any other way. Awesome matches we're seeing every single day again. All best of 5, all Heart of the Swarm. Yesterday, we saw 2 Terran players duke it out. We saw TY against Innovation. Very exciting. Best of 5. If you missed it, the VODs are available right now in 1080p HD. YouTube.com/official MLG SE2. Day 2, we had Roro versus Hero. Those are also available at the YouTube channel. And day 1, we had Parting versus Fantasy. But let's talk a little bit more about what's actually going on here. The format of the Winter Season Showdown. Now, we invited 56 players to the online portion. 4 players are already qualified to the Winter Championship event in Dallas, Texas. Flash, Bomber, Life, and Lenok. And of course, we need to find 28 players to join those 4 to make it a total of a 32-person bracket. So, 56 players invited, divided by region, 28 1v1 matches, best of 5 games. The winner of every single one goes to Dallas. And this is all Heart of the Swarm, so I know I'm emphasizing that a lot, but it's interesting to consider that while a lot of these players might be powerhouses in Wings of Liberty, they might be destroying everyone, how much does that actually apply in Heart of the Swarm if they're going up against someone who maybe doesn't have the same results, but has been practicing a lot more Heart of the Swarm?
You know, I think it plays a factor, but it's not going to totally flip the tables.
Right.
I would consider it like, I mean, it's like a massive patch in a way. Like, because the mechanics and the skills are exact same, just all the balances and units and the purposes all tossed up there. We saw a bit of that yesterday with Innovation versus TY. I mean, these guys, they didn't have a lot of experience with the new units. You could tell the way they controlled the medevacs, and you know, you with limited time, the utilization they got out of the Ignite Afterburner's ability is something that you get from being really, really good at RTS games, not just from playing a lot of Heart of the Swarm.
You know, I was actually reading through a few of the comments yesterday about the match Innovation versus TY, and one of the comments that really stuck out to me was, it's interesting, or it's fun, it's something. It's I think it's interesting to see a metagame develop over best of 5, and that was kind of true because we saw in game 1. Every SCV died. I'm not even kidding. Every SCV died in game 1. The ending supply was like 8-0 with, I think, Innovation won that one.
The 8 was all non-SCV units.
Right. So it's like, and then as the games went along, they were still losing SCVs, but it was like less and less and less and less. So when we got to the last game, they both just defended the drop. So it's interesting how, like, just their playstyles kind of changed a little bit based on what they're seeing from their opponent throughout that best of 5. Again, if you missed it, again, it was awesome. YouTube.com/official MLG SE2. It's right there, right now, 1080p HD. Go check it out. That being said, let's look at the week recap right now in some looking forward a little bit. Of course, the list of the Kespa players, the Kespa matches. There we go. Day 1, Parting versus Fantasy. Day 2 was Roro versus Hero. Day 3, Innovation versus TY. Soulkey versus Last. That's today. And of course, tomorrow is going to be Rain versus Flying. So a lot of amazing Kespa players there. I'm pretty sure every single team is represented except, looks like KT Rolster isn't there, but they already have Flash in the finals. Is there any other, I'm pretty sure that's all the teams there.
I believe we have, Soulkey from Woojin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Teammate, So also a lot of great matchups too. I mean, obviously we saw PVT in the beginning, and then we saw ZVT. And no, excuse me, ZVP, and then TVT, and now we're going to see TVZ. So it's like all across the board. And of course, tomorrow is going to be a PvP. Now, TVZ, of course, today's match, Soulkey versus Last. I'm especially excited for this one because, of course, we've seen the power of the Hellbat and the Widowmine in the TVT matchup. Do you think we're going to see that a lot today in Soulkey versus Last?
I think we will. Last is a guy who he loves to really integrate in a lot of new mech type play styles. I mean, we've seen that in Wings of Liberty. He's one of the few guys who, right when he first started switching to Wings of Liberty, was really trying these mech pushes versus Protoss, similar to how Beyond plays it a little bit. I mean, of course, he later on just decided Bio was the way to go, but I think for him, especially versus Zerg, we're definitely going to see him experimenting a bit with some of these Widow Mines and maybe the Hellbats. Last,
one of the premier players on Team STX, probably their second or third best Terran. It's weird. They have so many good Terrans in Last, Innovation, and Classic. So Last, I feel like he's kind of in the middle of that depth chart there. Very good Terran player. And of course, Soulkey, he's a guy who we've always been talking about. I feel like right when the Kespa players started playing Wings of Liberty, everyone's like, oh, look out for Soulkey. He was the first one to get Grandmaster, etc., etc., etc. He had a decent performance at the exhibition tournament, and then just consistent performances throughout. Of course, we had MVP Invitational, and then he's doing great things for Woojin Stars right now.
Yeah, he got second in the MVP Invitational, or second
among the Kespa players.
Second among the Kespa players, exactly. So, very, very strong performer. Been doing great in GSL over there in Korea as well lately. So, I expect. I mean, if I had to put my money, I would say Soulkey's the favorite. Without a doubt. He just showed stronger results.
The Heart of the Swarm Terran player in me, because that's all I've been playing Heart of the Swarm, wants to say Last. But I agree, Soulkey, it just seems like he adjusts so fast between these games. I wouldn't be surprised to see him take it. But can we pull up that last graphic really quick? I want to draw your guys' attention to what's coming up a little bit later on in the week. We're actually broadcasting a match on Sunday. And that Sunday match is going to be Sauce versus Snoot. So we're going to start getting into the European matches. I'm so excited for those as well. Of course, winner of these best of fives will advance on to the Winter Championship event in Dallas, Texas on March 15th. Sauce versus Snoot. Write it down. February 10th. That's Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, on Monday, the day after, we have Nurchio versus Baby Night. That PvZ should be amazing. That's February 11th. 5 p.m. Eastern. Again, write that down. If you can't make it live, that's okay. Rebroadcasting happens all day long. And of course, every VOD will be available 1080p HD at youtube.com/official MLGSE2. That being said, Nick, are we ready to get into this best of 5 between Soulkey and Last?
I think we are. I think we waited long enough to see what happens.
All right,
I say let's just get it started. STX Seoul versus Woojin Stars, man. You know, I used to have Last on my fantasy team in the first round.
I did too.
I kind of got.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I lost my faith in him, man.
It's hard. STX has so much potential as a team.
so many Terrans too.
Oh, yes.
It's hard to pick an STX Terran because they have so many.
Yes.
I mean, you mentioned
Classic.
Yeah.
Innovation.
Yeah. So if they want a Terran to play,
these guys are good. Yeah.
Unless you actually know their coach and know which Terrans are practicing which matchups on which maps. Most recently, you can't be sure they'll put in any given Terran.
Of course. Very tricky decisions to be made when it comes to STX players, of course, in fantasy. You can check that out at teamliquid.net. There's an FPL button in the top left. But before we get too far into this game, I want to urge you guys to tell people this is going on. There's a Team Liquid thread brilliantly formatted by Mr. Axslav. Go join the conversation there. Put yourself down a comment. Make a prediction. Do you think Last is going to win? Do you think Soulkey is going to win? Do you disagree with someone else in that thread? Tell them why they're wrong, but very cordially, very nicely, very respectfully. Nice, solid discussion is encouraged. And of course, I did make a Reddit thread that is currently on reddit.com/r/StarCraft. You can go check that out and post a comment there. And of course, join the conversation there as well. And then battle your friends with upvotes and downvotes. So that being said, now that I've fulfilled what I wanted to as far as encouraging more people to you know, honestly, go tell your family this is going on too. Call your cousins, because this is awesome. This is the best players in the world playing Heart of the Swarm. Bottom left-hand location, we have the Red Zerg player from Team Woojin Stars. He is Soulkey. and his opponent in the top right-hand location. Terran player on Team STX, he is last.
It looks like so far both these players going for very, very conventional standard builds. Nobody getting gas early. Soulkey with the hatchery first. Last, not going for any fast Hellbats, Widow Mines, anything tricky quite yet. Going for the early command center. I like that. I mean, I think the thing is with Hellbats and Widow Mines, it's like they're really good early, but they're also really good later on once you get a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So getting the command center first, I think, is always a solid option. It's just gives you so much more money to play around with. And a Zerg like Soulkey, if he sees you're not building a command center, he's going to get an extra queen, get a spine card. He'll be buttoned up pretty well.
I was actually playing around with this opening a little bit earlier today, partly because I forgot my gas in my barracks, but I still put that command center down first because I had that extra money. And it's fun to try to see where that, because obviously your economy is going to be much better as the game goes along, and you can start hyper producing those factories if you want to go into mech play. So putting down 2 factories with the reactors on them, that's always fun to do, of course, once you get enough gas.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you there. There's just a second there where the Zerglings almost were able to stop that bunker from getting up. But I really like what Last is doing. No, the Zerg can't take a third. The Zerg has to be scared of a push. It's just like I mean,
it's
bunkers.
Good scouting too.
Exactly, it's perfect scouting. Bunkers are basically free because you can salvage them, and I mean the Zerg has to be constantly their vision, right? If you think about a normal game of a Terran Expands, a Zerg player is going to have the Zerglings in front of the Terran base, and so if the Terran ever moves out, I mean the Zergs can know instantly. Whereas now in this situation, there's the Zerg's only scouting outside of his base. Oh, look at that. Exactly doing what he needs to get those Zerglings outside. But ideally, you just try to limit their vision because Overlords have there's a couple spots they can be, but they can't be everywhere, right? You can definitely sneak past those Overlords.
This has like a Cloud Kingdom-esque natural expansion ledge where the Overlord can chill out. This is Planet S, by the way. For those of you who don't know, this is the map where every unit is pretty much on ice skates when they die, and they slip and slide everywhere. Hopefully we get to see some of that in action. Well, of course, Soulkey might not necessarily want that. I think Zerg units slide a little bit more than the Terrans on this map.
I think it also depends what kills the unit. So if a unit dies by incineration, it'll just burn up and won't go very far, right? And if it gets killed by Zerglings, they kind of shred it apart. There's not much momentum transfer there. But if you're shot by a gun, that's a lot of momentum transfer. I mean,
like if a Zergling's running really fast,
yes, exactly,
and then gets killed, then they're going to slip and slide everywhere, right?
Exactly. They have a lot of that speed built up already.
I like it. All right, we're seeing some cool stuff here. We got a layer already on the way here from Soulkey, and we have 2 Widow Mines that just completed here for Last. Going to try to sneak by Soulkey here, but he's seen that with his Overlord. So I'm wondering if Soulkey is going to try to react to this. Hasn't been doing anything just yet, and I'm wondering what Last is going to try to accomplish. Does he have a Starport on the way? Does he have Medivacs? No, so these Widow Mines might just take a stance near this bunker.
And this is going to actually work out pretty well for him. If he can make this contain a stronger one, his 3rd CC is almost done. And if the Zerg player is still, I mean, the Zerg player hasn't even started his third hatchery yet. So the Terran player is going to have a decisive economic advantage, and the Zerg player is going to, I mean, yes, he can break this bunker Widow Mine formation, but it's not going to be cost efficient. It just can't be, right? There's no way you can make that cost efficient.
All right, one Widow Mine using his little blaster there. The other one just now unleashing that, killing about 3 Zerglings there. The bunker going to be taken out finally. Salvage trying to happen, but that's not going to get completed. These Marines going to stay alive, taking down those Lings. And also we have some Hellions here going to be reinforcing. And an armory is completed here. So these Hellions do have the ability to transform into that Hellbat. Let's see if Last decides to hit that D button.
And I mean, even though the Zerg took out the bunker, he lost so many Zerglings for it. Drone's now trying to get to 3rd base. The Marines have spotted it, though. Overseer, Overseer almost gets taken out.
Yeah.
Just perfect control there by Last, escaping with that 1 Widow Mine. The Hellions canceling the hatchery, burning Widow Mine again to make sure that the Queens have to be careful every time they come near here.
Wow. Taking down another Queen.
And then getting out of there. He's really using the speed of the Widow Mines. They're such fast units, but a lot of people don't realize. They think of them as a static unit like a siege tank. But, I mean, they do take a few seconds to burrow and unburrow, but their movement speed is actually very fast. So you can really use that to make them even more cost efficient throughout the game by preserving their lives, retreating when needed.
Last moving his third orbital command over here to the top side of the map. Let's see if Soulkey can identify this, and more importantly, if he can do anything to deal with that. We have some lings extending across the map here. Speed has not even been started, so these are going to be slow for quite a while. Going to spot that 4 Hellbat drop, though, and that might be worth that information. Is he going to see the roaches?
Is he going to see the roaches? No, he doesn't. He misses the roaches. We could be in a weird type of base rate situation as the Hellbats will do amazing damage because Soulkey is putting all his units on the attack. But on the other hand, without those Hellbats at home, he's got he has the siege tank.
The supply depot is lowered, and Soulkey has been making nothing but roaches. Going to be trying to engage into his opponent's natural expansion. There's a tank on the high ground, a little bit too low, too close to the roaches. We're going to have picture here to show you what's happening in the Zerg player's base as the Hellbats going to work, but the Roach is going to be pursuing these SCVs. SCV's going to desperately start trying to repair this. The Thor falls incredibly fast, and Last has no answer to these Roaches at this point in time.
But does Soulkey have an answer to these Hellbats? Look at the drone carnage!
Oh my gosh.
Each
GG
Hellbat
from Last. Yeah.
Oh, not enough. His main base was taking too much damage.
26 kills in between those 2 Hellbats. And they weren't even, yeah, and as those kills were occurring, he typed the GG, but that's because he had no answer to those roaches, just wasn't able to scout that Soulkey was mass-producing roaches. And it's interesting because Last was able to deny that third for so long. He was able to delay it, able to force the cancel. He was in a good position if that third doesn't get up because he's establishing a third of his own. If he can get that up, his economy is going to be fantastic compared to his Zerg opponent. And then you start counting in your head, okay, what can kill me as a Terran player? I just defeated my opponent's third base. His economy is going to be struggling compared to mine. I'm Terran, I have mules. I feel like Soulkey honestly did the only thing he could do to win that game, and that's mass-producing roaches on 2 bases, which Last was unable to predict.
He really was. I mean, that was a situation where, like you said, if Last went through the thought process, what can kill me, and made his defense a little bit tighter against roaches, I think he could have held that game. Let's actually go back to replay and look at how his defense was constructed there. So if you jump in here, he had the siege tank very far forward, which is exactly what you want against a Baning bust, and get those hits off as soon as possible. But unfortunately, with the Overseer there to give vision, the roaches can crawl up right underneath it and attack it from the low ground. After he uses that siege tank, that's his main damage output, and from there it's all downhill. Really, he needed to siege tank a little bit further back and then support it with some of the Widow Mines he was producing. The Thor, the depots could be raised. And it was a situation where he probably could have held his main base if he just kept that siege tank alive, but those roaches got up from the low ground and it was all over from there.
And like most of that was like, he didn't even spot the roaches until they were outside of his natural expansion. So if you could, obviously the sooner you scout it, the sooner you can start preparing for that, adding additional bunkers, making your wall a little bit more meaty, getting the appropriate units out, having the SCVs ready to repair. So kudos to Soulkey there, able to hide that intel long enough where he took Last completely off guard.
He did. I mean, the way he pushed the contain back north, and then his roaches went along, from the southwest to the southeast portion of the map, and swung around the opposite direction from the way he pushed Last's containing unit. So that was a really nice kind of control of space and movement there that Soulkey did.
And for people wondering, well, he was killing a bunch of drones. Why did he leave? I mean, he had nothing back at his base.
His factories were surrounded by roaches.
Yeah.
So
you can kill the drones all you want, but if you don't have anything back home, like you're not going to do anything. But if we think about the situation Last was in, he was in a great situation. If he had held that off, Soulkey didn't have a third. He was only making roaches, and he was losing every single drone. So if Last had survived that attack, he probably would have won that game. But that's going to wrap up game number 1, guys. Soulkey taking the 1-0 lead over Last in this best of 5 Heart of the Storm winter season showdown. Again, the winner qualifies for Dallas. Don't go anywhere. Coming up next, it's going to be game 2 between these two gentlemen.